a little bit. So it's narrated in both the collections of Imam Bukhari and Muslim by the Sahabi Abu Hurairah. And the Prophet ﷺ says, Al-imanu bid'un wa sittuna aw bid'un wa sab'una shu'batan. That faith, this is iman, faith, this is the wording of it, is 60 and odd or 70 and odd branches or classes. And this uncertainty is not from the Prophet ﷺ, it's from one of the narrators. He heard it one way and someone else heard it a different way. So he decided, the narrator, the person who narrated the hadith decided to mention both versions of it. And this is what he says. He says that the iman, faith, is classes, either 60 and odd or 70 and odd. It's around that number. And then moves to a different, he says, فَأَفْضَلُهَا, the top part of it, the ceiling of it, قَوْلُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. Top part is that you testify and you believe with your heart and you say it with your tongue. The word of shahada, the word of the testimony of faith that we all know, we all say multiple times during the day. That's the top part. This is considered to be the ceiling of iman. It is the key to enter Islam. It is the key for all your deeds good to be accepted in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Anything you do or one does without the word of La ilaha illallah is very difficult to justify in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because your intentions are, no matter how much good things one does, without La ilaha illallah, it's very difficult to be accepted, maybe impossible. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't accept it if it's not for his sake, for his satisfaction of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The second part, it says, وَأَدْنَاهَا, and this is the part I want to talk about. إِمَاطَةُ الْأَذَى عَنِ الطَّرِيقِ, and the lowest of faith is removing harmful objects from the road, or from the street, or from the path people use. And if you notice that this part is not faith, it's actually an action. First he said faith is this number of classes, and then he mentioned an action actually, right? Imatatul adha is when you do something, when you remove something that's harmful from people. This is from the street. You remove it. This is an action. I'll come back to this point. And the third part of the hadith says, he says, alayhi salatu wasalam, وَالْحَيَاءُ شُعْبَةٌ مِنَ الْإِيمَانِ. Sheikh Adnan spoke about this, I think, last year at length. I don't want to repeat it, but al-haya I find very difficult to actually find a word that translates exactly what haya is. And I try to avoid that because sometimes when you translate from one language to the other, especially from Arabic to any other language, you lose some of the meaning. So I'll give you the definition. Haya is what you feel when you're between two things. When you recognize when you appreciate the bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, everything He's given you. And on the other side, your shortcomings and how you, so to speak, repaid that. You know those two feelings? When you look at how much Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you, and what you have done, of course you can't benefit Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but what you've used those bounties in, right? So the feeling that you have, I'll let you, ponder on that a little bit. The feeling that you have, having those two notions in mind, is haya. This is what is that feeling. Going back to imatat al-adha an al-tariq. Now, the scholars understood from this that iman, yes, it is faith, but without actions, iman, there's a deficiency in it. I'm not saying that without actions you're not Muslim. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that true iman is an energy that will motivate you to do good. So imatatul adha an al-tariq, imagine the scenario when you're riding your bike, walking in the street, and you see something that could be harmful. Some slippery snow or some piece of rock or a piece of something or something that could be harmful for someone. And you realize that, no one's watching me, but maybe someone will trip on this. But you do it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not because you want to tell your friends the next day, guess what I did last night, right? You do it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is imadatul adha an al-tariq. But where did that come from? It came from an internal feeling, from an energy that you have inside of you. That energy is iman. And it's not only imadatul adha an al-tariq, but it's also any removal of any harm from a person. Yani, when the Prophet ﷺ said imadatul adha an al-tariq, it could be understood as the action, or it could be understood as something deeper. That anything I try to protect you from, I try to remove harm from you, right? If you can you understand these things as a figure of speech sometimes, metaphorically? That not only actually removing a physical object from a physical street, but I probably remove or a clarified piece of information that was a little bit confusing for you, right? That's also imatat al-adha, if you think about it, right? Now this is iman, right? Those who don't have that energy to perform that, I'm not saying they don't have iman, but there's a problem with understanding what I'm supposed to do with my iman. Because there's a saying, and sometimes it's mentioned as a hadith, but I don't think it is a hadith. I think it's just a wisdom that's derived from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. He says, al-mu'min, that a believer, a mu'min, not a smart man, not an entrepreneur, a mu'min, the believer, the person who has la ilaha illallah in his heart, كالغيث أينما حل نفع, like rain, wherever it rains is going to benefit. Even if it's a lot, at some point there's going to be benefit out of it. And this is the result of iman. This is what the hadith is talking about. This is one of the levels. The top is la ilaha illallah. The lowest is doing this, removing harm from people. So imagine what's in between. And actually, scholars have written books trying to derive from the Sunnah, from the Quran, what these 70 or 60 odd classes are, and most of it is actually actions. You have that energy inside of you, iman. What are you doing? What are you doing with it? Oh, good for you. You're mu'min and you're good. And then what? How are you serving others? إماطة الأذى عن الطريق. Now, what do you say about someone who actually litter, do the opposite, that spread, something that could hurt people? How do you reconcile this with iman? I'm not saying this person is not mu'min, but there's a problem with translating your iman to actions. I hope this was of benefit. يروي الإمام مسلم والإمام البخاري كلهم في صحيحه بسند الصحيح عن أبي هريرة رضي الله تعالى عنه وارضاه قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم الإيمان 67 أو 77 شعبة فأفضلها قول لا إله إلا الله وأدناها إماطة الأذى عن الطريق والحياء شعبة من الإيمان. صدق رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. سبحانك اللهم بحمدك لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.